What's up, guys? This is Shane here from Team COG. Um, Charles was telling you guys in his last video that I was going to do a Magibullet deck profile for you guys. I don't have all the cards, and I'm kind of testing some things with that deck. Um, for the most part, it hasn't really changed that much, but I'm seeing what I can do with it for the most part. So, I'm just going to bring you guys my Dark Magician deck profile. This had some changes in Cybernetic Horizon. There was some support that kind of went under the radar for most people, but deck, the Dark Magician and the Red Eyes players definitely saw it. So I'm gonna bring you a build with that stuff, and hope you guys like it. So starting off with our monster lineup, you start with the 3 Dark Magicians, as normal. He is the only card you cannot afford to run him at 1 or 2, but you have to run him at 3. He is the OG. He is the OG boss monster. He definitely doesn't have the best support. I love this deck, but it's not the strongest thing you can possibly have ever. So you gotta boost the consistency quite a bit. That's what I've tried to do with this deck the most, is boost the consistency, but it still gets brick hands. But it's a fun deck to play. I just wouldn't recommend it for any regionals or anything, not these days. Magician of Dark Illusion, he's a great card. You can actually chain him off of the Eternal Soul's destruction effect when it's in grave or banished, and you can make the Eternal Soul chain 2 and him chain 1. And if it resolves backwards, the Eternal Soul will blow up your field, but you can at least have the Magician of Dark Illusion on field once it all resolves. So it's a little bit of recovery. He's not a very good card. He's not nearly as good as he could be, but yeah. He's a good card for recurrence, and his once per turn, or once per duel, is kind of a really harsh limitation for him. So moving on, we've got the 3 Apprentice Illusion Magician. She's a really great card. In this build you have to max out with her because of a card we'll be talking about later. But she's a great card. You discard Special Summoner, and you add a Dark Magician to hand, which is really important in this deck. She's a hand trap. She can drop and be somewhat like a... She's not like an Honest. She doesn't give you an instant win for the battle, but she is a really good card. She's a lot like a Kalut. She just gives a certain amount of boosted attack. So next up we got the 3 Rod. Rod's a great card. He's your main searcher of the deck. He's your main normal summon. He's got the ability to search any magician or spell or trap card that lists Dark Magician in the name. This makes it inviolable because you can search your circle, you can search your Eternal Soul, you can search your navigation, you can search other cards like Dark Magic Inheritance and Illusion Magic. Illusion Magic leads to some pretty interesting combos that can get you just more Dark Magicians to your hand, so you can do whatever you want with them. But he's a staple 3 of in the deck, so that makes him have to be 3. So this one's a little less common for people to run at 3, but I run 3 Cosmo Brains. That's why you're maxing out on your search potential, not to the point where it's bricky, but to the point where you can almost always get to Dark Magician. He is an amazing card. This is the Eye of Timaeus version, so as such you want to see your Dark Magician as soon as possible, and this card actually allows you to get Dark Magician on field first turn if you see him with a Dark Magician, no matter what. He could be, as long as you get the Eye of Timaeus. The problem is still that the Eye of Timaeus is not searchable, which we'll talk about a new card we just announced in the tins in a little bit. It's a little bit, I don't know. You have to run some major bricks, so I'll talk about that near the end. But 3 of him, you have to open the Eye of Timaeus, but he also leads to some amazing rank 7 plays if you open him and the Apprentice. So just a really good card. You can go into Tomahawk, which is a great card. Moving on, you've got the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy for your Spellbook draw engine. He's just a great card to get some draws off of. He deck thins really efficiently with secrets. So you wouldn't normally want to dedicate your normal summon to him because you're not sure what you're getting off of. So if you have the choice between Rod and the Sky, I would always go Rod, but that's just my personal opinion. So that's it for the monster lineup. It's pretty, I wouldn't say standard. It's got pretty much what most people would run, but it's got a few changes and tweaks for me. So we've got 3 Dark Magical Circle. This card is absolutely key. It gets you searching your Dark Magicians, it gets you searching your Dark Magician spell and traps. It's just a really good card. It's not the draw power that they kind of needed, because if you don't see certain things in your top 3 cards, you don't get to draw anything, so it can actually just be there and not do anything. But on most occasions you won't have that happen. You'll at least get some kind of discard fodder or something to your hand. One-ofs, you got the 1 Illusion Magic. With Apprentice you don't need very many, but you still want to have them because of the ability to search with Rod. It's not nearly as good as when it came out. I would run it personally as 2 when it first came out, but with Apprentice you only really needed it 1 if at any. The card that should have been super, Dark Magic Inheritance. It's another search card for the deck. The whole deck's a lot of draw power, search power, but it's a great card. It searches your spells and traps. For your last Dark Magician specific card, Dark Magic Attack. This card's not ideal right now. It's got a good advantage against Altergeists, but other than that, they're not really extremely prevalent in this current meta, so I was thinking about cutting it for maybe another Designator, but moving on from that, we got 2 Eye of Timaeus. This is a great card. It allows you to go into your Dark Magician fusions. I'm only running 2 of them. I think they're the best 2. Dark Magician the Dragon Knight is an amazing card for this deck because it makes your Eternal Souls pretty safe. You do have to worry about Topologic Tresbania, I found out. It's a very easy card for people to go into, and if you can't interrupt it, you're basically in trouble. Now I'm running another card that's not exactly standard, Dark Magic Veil. It's a great card, in my opinion. I was having some problems with it because you pay 1,000 and it's not the best special summon card. And then I decided, really, life points are really just resources for you to use, so it's not that big of a deal. Also, it gives a lot of revival when you need it, and it also special summons out of the hand. I was thinking about 1 Dark Magic Veil and 1 Monster Reborn, but when I was doing a lot of back and forth with it, and in the end I decided to go with 2 Dark Magic Veils. 1, because Monster Reborn can't summon out of your hand, and 2, because Dark Magic Veil doesn't target Engrave, and right now there's a lot of stuff that can get rid of your monster's Engrave, like Designator from the Grave and DD Crow and things like that. So if you target with Monster Reborn, there's a more higher possibility of them designating it or something like that. So in the end I just decided to go with this. Next I have the Spellbook draw, the rest of the Spellbook draw engine. I've got 2 Spellbook of Knowledge. I think that's it's good there. I don't like it at 3, it bricks. And then I have the 1 Spellbook of Secrets. Spellbook of Secrets at 2 is kind of overdoing it. You can discard it for knowledge when you open them both, but since you're only running 1 Blue Boy, or Magician of Prophecy, I only like to play it at 1, so That's my personal opinion. Pot of Desires at 3. It's very important. It allows you to get to your combo pieces, and now there is always the chance that you will banish the Dark Magician, and there's always the neg-9 joke. But as far as like draw power, it's something that the deck can't really stand to lose. I've tested it out with the Pot of Duality, but I don't like Pot of Duality because you hinge on the Apprentice so much for this build in order to get the Dark Magician to your hand. And even if you get the Dark Magician off of the Duality, you have the chance of opening it with the Cosmo Brain, and that just will often hurt you in the long run. So locking down the special summons isn't something I like to do. Allure of Darkness at 2. All your monsters besides Blue Boy are dark. It allows you to keep drawing and drawing and drawing. It's not a once per turn. It is a really risky card because you are running a pretty low monster count. So you just gotta play it smart. You can't always activate it when you want to activate it and stuff like that. Now for the last 2 spells, you've got some protection from the hand traps because this deck loses the hand traps really quickly. You got 2 Called by the Grave. That was what I was meaning when I was saying Designator. It's not designated from the grave, it's called to the grave. Sorry about that confusion. It's a great card. It stops hand traps, which is very important to this deck. This deck cannot play through hand traps very well, especially Drolton Lockbird. It's just a great spell card in general. It has a lot of versatility. It can be used aggressively and defensively. It's great against Burning Abyss. It's great against cards that prefer certain monsters in the grave, because you can just call by the grave them and banish them, and it's always really strong. Now, I'm only running the traps that you need to run in order to make this deck playable. I'm running 3 Eternal Soul. Hopefully we all know what Eternal Soul does, because this is in a different language. But this deck is really hindered by its trap reliance for the special summons. They are great. These Eternal Souls are great recoverability, and they keep moving. However, the drawback is extremely bad, so you want to try and do the best to protect it. Thus, I prefer to run Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. 3 Navigation. If you ever have the chance to activate Navigation without activating Eternal Soul first, that's the way to go, because Navigation's not as easily stoppable. You can't just stop it with an MST. It doesn't blow up your field after it's stopped. There's just so many different reasons that Navigation is a better card to me. It summons 2. The only downside is the Dark Magician has to be in your hand, so you've got to plan accordingly. But it's a great trap card. It gets 2 monsters on board. It can get you into rank 7s. It can get you additional searches with Apprentice. It's just an amazing trap card for the deck. That's it for the trap lineup, spell and trap lineup. We'll move on to the extra deck. Now the extra deck is pretty comparable because of how the deck is built. So I'm only running 2 of the fusions. I'm running the Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, and Dark Paladin. Dark Paladin's a great card because he has that negate his spell card effect, and sometimes that's just enough to get you by. But in the long run, he is not as good as him. But these are definitely the 2 best fusions for Dark Magician, so these are the 2 that I'm running. Now, on the XYZs, I'm running 1 Ebon Illusion Magician. Ebon's an amazing card. He summons the Dark Magician. Master Rule 4 kind of hurt him quite a bit. You don't have as much spam ability as you did going probably like 3rd turn if you had the right cards. But he makes amazing boards with your Dark Magician, and he's a very reliable Xyz. I'm not running the other Ebon, High Magician or whatever it is. He's just not that good of a card. He's not as proactive as I would hope. And since I had to cut down space in the deck, I did not choose to play him. I opted out of playing him. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. I did choose the strongest, in my opinion, rank 7s, and that of course includes Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. He's really strong with the new time rules, and he does not die to your Eternal Soul being destroyed, so thus I feel like he is a really, really strong level 7 for this current format at least. Big Eye. Big Eye is a great steal your bitch kind of card. He's just really good. Oftentimes with the new Master Rule, you're not able to go anywhere with him. Maybe you can steal like a Spellcaster in a mirror match and go into a Link, but now this card's like the MVP of the current build because of the easy combo with Apprentice and Cosmo Brain, but Tomahawk is a strong card that can special summon 5 tokens pretty much with the new rules, and it just completely obliterates most rank 7s. I wasn't actually playing it in the build before now, but with the links you kinda got to. The only rank 6, Naruto the Moral Leader. He's a great card, he negates spells and traps. You can put Ebon Illusion Magician on top of him, so I personally think it's better to have 2 apprentices on board because that's a stronger battle lock than anything. But if you're going for some major combos, Naruto's a good card to go into. But Master Rule 4 was kind of a hindrance to him too, because you're not able to put him on board as easily. This deck doesn't have the swarm capabilities as most decks, so you're having a hard time. So for your ranks, or for your links, you've got the only Link one I'm playing, Link Spider. You can use Dark Magician with it, puts it in grave for Eternal Soul. You can use the tokens. A couple rank 2s, or Link 2s. I'm starting off with Wee Witch's Apprentice. Wee Witch's Apprentice is an amazing card. Sometimes the boost will just get you a little bit further. Not to mention, when it's destroyed, it kind of floats to your hand. So it's just a great card for that too. Space Insulator. It's another really good Link 2, sorry. It has a lot of viability. It's a generic Link 2, so you can easily make it. If you summon a Cyverse monster, you can summon him back, which sometimes you can use that kind of gimmicky as like tribute fodder for a Dark Magician you have stuck in your hand or something like that. But for the most part, he's just another generic Link 2. I'm running 2 Qliphort Genius. Genius is a great card. Because of Tomahawk, you can easily go into him. The reason I'm running 2 is you can use him to bait cards, and if your opponent negates it, you can just go into a second one with the tokens. So he's just an amazing card. Summon Sorceress. You have to make the... This is also another reason I'm running 2 of the Genius. The Summon Sorceress requires 2 of the same type except tokens. So you can make 2 Genius and link into her, and then like normal summon a Blue Boy or a Rod underneath her, and then you can special summon another Dark Magician or an Apprentice, whatever you need. She has this effect, you can special summon a Rod to their side of the field, and it'll be able to summon a Dark Magician or Apprentice, or a really good spellcaster from your deck. So she's a really great card. Can't have her in Europe yet. Hopefully she doesn't get hit on the next ban list. She gives a lot of smaller decks some versatility, but kind of hope she does too, because she does not exactly give just the small decks some additional help. It's kind of all the decks. So Moving on from that, we've got Saryuj Skoldred. I always butcher that first name. He's easy to make. If you play your cards right and you don't get interrupted, you can make him with the Tomahawk, but he's a really good card because he can special summon from hand, so you can continue going off with him, but for the most part, his draw is what you're going for, and if you can't make him with the draw, it's almost not worth making him. And then lastly, we've got a Borreload Dragon. Borreload's just an aggressive monster. It's a good rank 4, or link 4. Jeez, I keep doing that. It's a good link 4. You have to use 3+ effect monsters, so sometimes you can't do it as easily, but oftentimes you can make it just as easily as other cards. I would personally, I'm thinking about replacing him with Borreload Dragon, because it can't be destroyed by effects. Borreload will survive the Eternal Soul nuke, but that's also not, I haven't decided whether I want to do that, because it's not as nearly as good as a card, but it will survive the board nuke, and with Trizbania around, you kind of want that, because Trizbania is an easy out. Not very many people are playing it right now, but if Altergeists are going to be a thing, Trizbania will probably see some spots in some different decks, and that will be hard on us. So, that's about all I got. I did want to talk about a few cards. First of all, I wanted to talk about Paladin Oracle Mahad. Now, Mahad is a great card in the right conditions. He is a really gimmicky, fun card, so if you weren't planning on taking this to a regionals, or you just wanted to have fun with your locals, I could recommend you playing him. He is a lot of fun. He's very but when he's destroyed, you get the Dark Magician, so everybody's like, whoa, but in reality, he's inconsistent. He doesn't, a lot of the times you're trying to run him at 1, in which case you won't see him, or you'll see him in your opening board, and if you do see him, that's good. But in reality, there's cards in your deck that can do more than Mahad does, and just because you can special summon a 7, he isn't anything near as good as Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon. As much as I wish he'd been another Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon for Dark Magician, he just didn't even come close. So, that's my opinion on Paladin Oracle Mahad. He's a great card. He's a fun card. He's a gimmicky card. When you're just reading him, he's good. But once you played with him and you realize he's in your hand first turn, you can't summon him when you draw him off your initial cards. You don't really get much versatility with him for the first turn. He's just not as good as you need the deck, and you need to go first turn. So a lot of the times you're not going to see him until third turn, and if you're not lost by then, you could have just used a different card to keep you going, in my opinion. Now, there was another card that just got announced. It is the Keeper of Dragonic Magic. This is a dragon that looks like Dark Magician wrapped in Blue Eyes armor. I'm not even gonna lie. I should be able to post a picture of it here. It is a interesting card, to say the least. It is very gimmicky. The problem I have with it is you would have to run it at least 2, and you would have to run the fusion spells at least 2. So thus you're taking up almost twice as many spots as you would with just running the Eye of Timaeus, and it's still not searchable. It's not a searchable card. It doesn't have the versatility it needs in order to be able to be a good card, in my opinion. I will do some testing with it when it comes out, but the fact that you have to run it plus some polymerization bricks, and I have seen some people thinking about running it with Mana Dragon. I don't run Mana Dragon in my build personally. I think it's a very lackluster hand trap. If I was to run a hand trap, I would run one of the any other hand traps. It does use itself from grave, so that is always a versatile thing, but I just don't see it as that good of a card. Um, I prefer how my build is now. I think it's relatively consistent for a Dark Magician build. But that's been my Dark Magician and a few Dark Magician deck and a few ideas I've had on upcoming cards and previous cards. If you liked it, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. We have been growing a little bit in recent times. Team COG is coming out of the woodworks a little bit. Hope to see you guys in the future. This has been Shane with Team COG, signing out.